This week on Supercars Talk, Barry Ryan disagrees with someone and Shane VanGisbergen takes out the Jason Richards Trophy. The big news this week is actually big news. It looks like Todd Hazelwood is on the move, even though he had a 2-year contract with Matt Stone Racing. It seems that the second year was a team option to take up, and he has asked them to not take up that option for next year and wants to move across to the Blanchard Racing team. Interesting move. MSR definitely have not been going great the last few rounds, but Blanchard's really been going that much better. I assume this is probably down to a bit of a paycheck rather than actual, performance-wise. The big question, though, that comes up then, who to for MSR? Matt Stone has come out and said that he would prefer to put a, rookie, younger driver into the car. So that obviously opens up the door for guys like Declan Fraser, Cameron Hill, Jaden Ojeda, Zach Best, Tyler Everingham. They're quite happy to put one of those rookies into the car because then they will have the extra test days that come with running a rookie for Gen 3, and that carries over on for 2 years. A tough call at the moment, but at the moment, Declan Fraser looks like the highest in the list, I suppose, with the Super 2 running and, looking like the champion there, plus with the, wild card with Triple Eight and all that kind of stuff. Definitely has the budget, etc. But if it was me, I've got a soft spot for Jaden Ojeda because he chatted with me at Sandown. It looks like the final Bathurst seat will be taken by Jackson Evans, who is a Porsche factory driver. Brad Jones Racing are going to do a co-driver test for him very soon. The seat was open for David Wall, but he has decided to pull the pin to focus on his Porsche Carrera Cup Championship. That seems a little bit strange, but anyway, that's what he's decided. And that is currently the only seat to be filled at the moment. The Bathurst race will start at 11:15 a.m. this year. This is a change. It's gradually been getting later and later, and it felt like it started at about 2 o'clock last year. I know it wasn't that bad, but the 12 o'clock or something it started just seemed a bit ridiculous. This brings it back a bit more to a morning start. Obviously, the race does generally finish earlier in the day then, but I don't mind it doing that. Felt like last year you sat around a long time in the morning for the race to start, and then the whole day was gone. And for me, the puppy dog still wants a walk regardless of what happens during the racing on the day. The Groves have confirmed that they will not be in Super 2 next year. Surprise, surprise. And Mark Winterbottom, he has been confirmed for 2 more years at Team 18 Racing. And the start of the year, that was a no-brainer, but the last couple of rounds, his performance has been a little bit lacking. So I seem to think my different way of reporting on the races recently has worked pretty well. So I'm just going to do a bit of a rundown on what each team has done. Triple Eight start off at the top. Shane VanGisbergen, he did make Saturday a little bit more interesting by qualifying badly and not really moving forward in the race. It did give some hope to some other guys, made up for it on Sunday with 2 wins, and he ended up taking out the Jason Richards Trophy. Battle with Waters at the end of race 3 there was just absolutely amazing, and great for the Kiwi fans to see him taking that final win, doing the burnouts, getting up on top of the car and all that. That was amazing. He was probably a little bit lucky in that final race because of the pit drama from Will Davison, but take nothing away from, once again, another amazing day from Shane VanGisbergen. And Brock Feeney in the other car, he was just consistent once again, finishing 7th, 8th and 4th. Dick Johnson Racing, the number 1 driver, Will Davison, he was going great until that final race, probably on track to win the JR Trophy, but it wasn't to be. Brilliant start in race 1, showed everyone the way, and race 3 was seeming to go in the same way until that pit stop. He was probably enough in front that they could have taken slightly longer. It was probably a cross-threaded nut though, so it's a bit hard to know what you'd do about that. You can't really change it. Of course, race 2, he had that interesting thing with Shane VanGisbergen where Shane seemed to kind of send him out wide. Discussing that a little bit later on. Anton, he was just a little bit off all weekend. Scruffy opening lap in race 2. Ended up getting turned around by Brodie there. Did a lot of damage to the car. I was very surprised to see that come out for race 3, but a lot of work now going back because that'll all have to get pulled apart and I assume put on a jig and totally rebuilt before Bathurst. He did finish 5th in race 3, but once again, I mean, the car was a little bit, but the whole weekend just overshadowed by Davison again. Next up, Cam Waters Racing. Third and second. The next closest within that team, 4-car team, race 1, Randall was 17th, race 2, Jake Kostecki was 9th, and race 3, Randall was in 11th. They got one guy doing all the heavy lifting for the rest of the team. Didn't help when Courtney got involved. Okay, it wasn't all his fault. But yeah, getting involved, car destroyed on the start line in race 3 there. After coming off the bend where they absolutely trashed the car and then everything that had to go on with fixing everything after that round as well. And now this, it just hurts them for preparations for Bathurst. Also, to compound everything, they did their best Ferrari pit stop impersonation in race 1. Release Jake Kostecki straight into the path of Courtney, so he had to stop and cost him time, and then Jake's wheel fell off, putting him out of the race. So, yeah, it buggered up both drivers' races and just looked a bit comical. It's sad when you think what this team once was, and now you're really Cam Waters and that's it. Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Mostert with 4th, 2nd and 6th. Just another consistent weekend for him. Nick Percat thought he was going to be on pole for the race on Saturday. His words, not mine. He actually ended up finishing 8th, 14th and 9th, which that's actually really good considering where he has been. Is this, though, this is my question, these 2 rounds, Pukekohe and Bathurst, are the only 2 full hard tyre rounds for the year. Is this like a hard tyre thing where, because that car was an absolute rocket ship at Bathurst last year, is this kind of a hard tyre, faster circuit kind of thing? And will this carry through for Bathurst and then will it carry through for the rest of the year? Or is this, just a blip on the radar, and he'll revert back to normal for the rest of the year? So just for the championship, it is better if you have someone like Percat up the front because people love to hate him. So you have a bit of the, Shane VanGisbergen's doing all the heavy lifting with that by himself up the front, really. Erebus. Brodie was finishing in the teens all weekend. Brown was absolutely nowhere. Then he had that shunt with Frosty in the second race and the car was absolutely trashed. Barry Ryan was not happy with Frosty. We'll just say that. Apparently he should lose his licence and blah, blah, blah. It's hard to know if a bit of a Barry Ryan overreaction with this or whether that car is trashed and it will not be in service ever again. And this also puts the Greg Murphy, Richie Stanaway wildcard into question for Bathurst because obviously that is their spare car that they're planning on using. There is limited options for them if they don't, if the car's not usable. They've already turned down a few options of people's spare cars and things like that because they want it to be an Erebus, do it properly for the boys, not half-assed thing. Could we see this, paused until next year again? Grove Racing. Dave Reynolds was in the top 10 in all 3 races and Holdsworth had 2 12ths and a 17th. They were just anonymous all weekend though. We didn't really even notice them on track. Team 18, Scott Pye was 10th, 5th and 7th. Once again, amazing what you can do without any power steering dramas. Frosty obviously got in that incident with Brown and was just kind of nowhere all weekend. His best result was 11th and you're questioning, is this the same guy who was the team leader earlier on in the year? Brad Jones Racing, the other 1-car, 4-car team. Jaime tried his best to bring the JR trophy back home. Didn't quite make it, but it was a very impressive weekend from him. As for the rest of the team, if it wasn't for Macca crashing in race 1, did we even see any of the other 3 cars on TV at all? It's very much a one-car team. I was expecting a lot more from Ford. Like, you don't expect much from Macca and Jack Smith, but, Ford, we were expecting a lot more from you. Just a bit disappointing. Matt Stone Racing. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Premier Racing. Golding, he's a solid midfield runner now. On the face of it, that's nothing to get too excited about, but when you think where this team was at the start of the year, that is actually very impressive, and considering he's only been in for a few rounds, makes it even more impressive. Pither... It seemed like they were handing out these little flag things about that big as you walked into the circuit, and the kids could wave them around, and it said something on there like, "Go the Kiwis," and it had a photo of Shane VanGisbergen and Andre Heimgartner. That pretty much sums up where we are with Chris Pither at the moment. The commentary highlight for the weekend for me, though, was in race 1 when Golding had that spin and Crompton exclaimed, he was only a foot long from the wall. That made me laugh. Blanchard Racing. One top 10, a 10th in the final race for Tim Slade. That was the highlight. A very, very anonymous weekend once again, but somehow Tim Slade is still 10th in the championship. These guys were supposed to be the giant killers at the start of the year, and I don't know what's happening. Probably the biggest talking point for me over the weekend was that incident at the start of race 2 with Shane VanGisbergen and Will Davison. At first, I thought Shane had just missed a gear, and that gave Davo the chance to have the run around him into the hairpin. As the commentators were looking at it and Shane's reaction after the race when questioned about it, it does seem that something a little bit more sinister was going on there, like he kind of backed off to let Davo run around the outside and then ran him off the track so the other guys could get past. If that's true, I'm very disappointed in Shane because he's at that point in the championship now. He's that far ahead. He doesn't need to worry about these kind of, I suppose, dirty tactics. A bit like the Anton incident at Townsville. It does nothing for your championship hunt, and it just kind of hurts your reputation. As it is, to me, it's a little bit dirty. If they were tooth and nail for the championship, all of these things just game on, kind of. But with him being that far ahead, he doesn't need to revert to these kind of things. So I don't agree with it. But having said that, though, the highlight of the weekend for me was Shane winning that third race. That battle with Cam Waters towards the end was absolutely amazing. On the edge of the seat stuff, which doesn't happen a lot in this championship, but I genuinely was really on the edge of my seat, not knowing who was going to take it out. And then when he crossed the line, that burnout and that standing up on top of the car for the New Zealand crowd, the final time of Pookie, it was fitting that he took it out. That was just really exciting. That's the other side of Shane. There's kind of the two sides to him, and can't do anything about it. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were over the weekend. Great to hear from everyone. Keep an eye out. I have got another interview coming out tomorrow. That's the final one for the moment, but we'll see how we go, chasing up a few others for the future. And until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.